Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Swing Wing Sing here, and today I am back with not a build video but a short tutorial video. So as you can see right here on my workbench, I've got the Hawker Hurricane Mark 1, which I'm currently working on, and this is the Airfix kit, and this is being done for the group build group, wherein we are building models for the D-Day invasion 80 years anniversary special. And this is the kit that I've chosen, although of course it doesn't fall within the bracket of the exact D-Day invasion, but it does fall in the category of preparation up to the D-Day invasion. The reason for this video is that I got a few questions from my followers, and these questions are kind of common, not just on the scale modeling channel, but also on the diecast community that I'm part of. And as a secondary hobby, I modify diecast vehicles as well. If you're not subscribed already to that and you're interested in diecast, I will leave a link to my diecast channel as well in the description below, and you can hop over to that channel to see the various video updates that I have. But coming back to the topic under discussion, so I received a lot of questions on how I paint white on my aircraft. And as you can see, so they had painted half the aircraft black and the other half white to make it easier to identify that it is a friendly aircraft. So now this has white on the right wing underside and black on the left wing underside. Now there are two ways that I can paint white. One is I can simply use my good old Fevicryl white, but the challenge with this is, although I can use it, and I have in the past used it on quite a few of my models, but the challenge with this is that once you paint it, firstly it needs about 2 to 3 coats to be sprayed from the airbrush, and then between those 2 to 3 coats you have to give at least half an hour to at least an hour for the first coat to dry, and only then you can go ahead with the second coat. At times, because of the humidity factor, you'll probably have to leave the paint for maybe 2 hours to dry, and that's when you can then paint the second coat, then leave it again for another 2 to 3 hours, and then paint the third coat till you get a very, very smooth white finish. Now that's very time consuming. So the way I go about painting white now is that I use this spray can, and you can see that this is from a company called 4S, as you can see here. So this is basically a lacquer spray can. It's 400 ml in volume. And it's basically an aerosol spray can. So that's what I use to paint white. Now, before we go on to painting white, there's a little bit of a theory that I want to discuss for painting through a spray can. Okay, so as you can see, I've got a blank piece of paper and a pen here. So the first thing we need to understand, and let me draw the shape of a spray can out here. And we'll be taking a couple of examples, so I'll draw 3 different diagrams here. Let's say this is our spray can. All right, so the first thing to keep in mind is that this is acrylic or lacquer based paint, and this lacquer based paint is combined with a kind of an aerosol material, which is what we call as spray can. So technically a spray can is actually an aerosol spray can. Now when we say aerosol, aerosols typically are types of highly flammable liquids which, when stored under pressure, convert into a gaseous form. For example, kerosene. Let's take an example that at this 50% mark, so this much is paint out here, and the rest is, compressed gas. And this becomes compressed gas. For example, if I take something like a kerosene, so kerosene is very light, its viscosity is much lesser than water, and it evaporates as soon as it comes in contact with the air. So when you trap that kerosene at very high pressure in here, the liquid actually turns into gaseous form. And now that mixture of, let's say, kerosene and paint is what forms the aerosol. Within this spray can, there's a little metal ball inside it. And if I show you the spray can, that sound that you hear is that of a ball, and this is basically a mixing ball. It helps to mix up the paint and the high pressure aerosol that has been trapped inside. When you start spraying from a spray can, it's always recommended to give it a good shake. Now, why that is done is because the paint settles down, because the paint particles are heavier than the let's take the example of kerosene itself. Paint particles are much heavier, or the paint molecule particles are much heavier than the kerosene, so it'll always settle down to the bottom. Now, if you start spraying without giving a good shake to the spray can, all you'll get outside the nozzle will be just maybe pure kerosene or the pure gas. And you might end up thinking that oh, the paint is not coming out, so there's something wrong with the spray can. But that's not the case. So this mixing ball, when you give it a shake, it moves all around, and it basically helps in suspending the paint particles evenly throughout the spray can. And then you press the nozzle button out here, and I can show you how that looks. So basically, that's the nozzle button. You've got the nozzle out here. You can see it's a very, very small orifice, even less than, I think, a millimeter. A millimeter might be too wide, but this is too less. So when you spray out that mixture from a very small orifice, that is what actually creates the conical shape of the spray. And when that pressure builds up and you press the switch, you put your force down here, it's going to spray out this conical pattern, which we actually refer to as the spray pattern. All right, so with that theory clear, let's move to the other diagram. Questions that I've received are that, I tried to spray it, but the spray is, just not drying. Or I tried to spray it, but, I see speckled paint on my model. Now, there are two reasons for that. Now, take a look at this spray pattern. So let's take the second diagram, and let's say this is your spray pattern. Usually in a can that is full, or a brand new can, easily the spray pattern, it reaches to a distance of about 10 to 12 inches. And this is in a brand new can. Whenever you spray it, and at 10 to 12 inches, of course, it'll be so, the spray will be so weak that it'll hardly land up any paint, and all you will see is aerosol or the gas that'll reach at the 12-inch mark or the 10-inch mark. So somewhere in between, which is the, let's say, probably a 6-inch mark, let's say that mark is over here, is where you should keep your model. Now, bear in mind that when the can is full, that is when it'll be at its best. And if you just press, it'll literally shoot out the paint and the aerosol mixture right to about 10 to 12 inches. But as the paint and the aerosol mixture starts reducing with use, let's say after about 20 or 30 odd sprays, it'll reduce. So the effective range of the spray can will reduce to maybe 6 inches, and then will go on to reduce to 3 inches. And by the time you reach the end of the spray can, where just very little paint and aerosol is left, it probably might spray just maybe a millimeter away from the spray can. So with that theory clear, 6-inch is the best distance at which you must keep your model, so that the paint catches the surface properly. Now, the way the spray can works is when you press the button out here on top, when you apply the force with your finger, when you apply the force on top, basically the paint and the gas mixture, it's converted into a very thin mist pattern, and the paint basically gets atomized. You will only see the paint when it actually lands on a surface that's actually stopping the paint flow. So this is how the spray can works. Let's take the third spray can here, and let's say when you apply the force with your finger here on the nozzle, let's say your effective distance of the spray is, let's keep it at 10 inches, right? Now at the 10-inch mark, now basically, as we discussed, the paint is getting atomized. And that's the reason why you don't see the paint when it is coming out of the spray can. All you see is the gas. Now at the end of this range, the particles are suspended very lightly. Whereas right at the start, let's say probably here, there is a very dense concentration of particles. And that's why, you should never keep your item too close. If you keep it too close, there is a dense concentration, and the chances are that the paint will start pooling at one point. If you keep it too far, let's say you're keeping your subject at a 10-inch mark, there will not be enough paint. It'll be so sparsely populated. And let's say this is your subject, the paint will just line up like that. And that is what you call as speckled paint. This is a speckled pattern. If you keep it right here, you're literally bombarding your subject with a high concentration. So right at this point, the paint will start pooling. Okay, so that's when you see that the paint is pooled, and this is the reason why you should keep it somewhere in the center, so that the conical pattern gives you maximum coverage of paint on your subject. So if you keep it at this distance, maybe your subject will have this kind of a concentration, and with, let's say, another coat of paint, you'll be able to cover it up more, and with a third coat you'll probably have a very good thin layers of coverage. And as we discussed here, as the volume of the mixture reduces, the effectiveness of the conical pattern also reduces. So you should be able to figure out, and that's why when you're beginning to paint, always test how far the spray pattern is going. So that'll give you a fair idea of, what's the center point of that effective range, and that's where you can place your subject and you can get a good spray coverage. All right, so as you can see, I'm out here in my backyard. Please ignore the background noise because there's quite a lot of breeze. Today has been the first day of monsoon showers, and it's a little pleasant at the moment. Slightly hot, of course, but not as hot as it's been for the last 1.5 months. Extreme temperatures, almost above 50 degrees, 51 degrees in Delhi, but it has come down to around 38, 39. So it's kind of tolerable. Today it has rained a little bit, and as you can see, there's a lot of breeze as well. So good thing is temperatures have come down. So what I have in my hand is, but this is a piece of cardboard. So I'm going to demonstrate, how to spray paint. So let me bring my spray can. Okay, so here's my spray can, and I'm going to give it a thorough shake. There we go. And now I'm going to paint on this piece of cardboard. I just changed the orientation of the camera so you could see clearly what's happening. Question. I see that paint has pooled. So now I've seen certain people, they just, bombard their model with the spray paint like so. You see. So if now you see how that paint is pooled on one place. and this is going to take a long time to dry, and you can keep it for days on end, and even after it dries, you'll feel that it is sticky because the paint has actually pooled in one point, and you can see that. So that's not the way to spray. The way to spray is you actually keep it at a distance of about 5 to 6 inches away from the spray can, and in gentle to and fro motions across the length of the subject is how you spray the paint, and that's how you achieve an even coat of paint. And then you give it about 5 minutes to dry. So I'll show you. I'll just turn this cardboard around and show you how I paint. So there you see this, a little bit of it has come onto my finger as well, because it hasn't dried. But this is a quick drying paint. It takes just about 4 to 5 minutes to dry. You can see that the length of the cardboard is about, I think, about 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. It's a slightly rectangular piece, but yeah, 1.5 by 1.5. And my spray pattern will actually start from way outside, come inwards, and go right across as far away as I started from. The actual idea being to ensure that the conical pattern that we discussed in the theoretical example earlier ensures that you get maximum coverage. And what you do is you come in from here, you start pressing it from offset position from the cardboard, and you spray it, and then leave it. Once you're out of it, come back again, press it on the offset position, spray it, and go out. So that's it. Look at that. Look at how even that spray pattern has come out. And this will take just about 4 to 5 minutes to dry. I can then go ahead and apply the second coat. So we're going to extrapolate this to the model that I'm working on. And here's the model of the Hurricane. And so all I'm going to do is, in a similar pattern, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it like this, and I'm going to spray it in the same pattern. And there you see. It's a very, very thin layer of paint that you can get onto your model. Now I'll leave this to dry for about 5 minutes. Once it is dry, I'll come back with another coat, and if required, a third coat. But I think 2 coats should be enough. And you can see that it's almost started drying up. Look how quickly it dries. Now if you come in close and just bombard it with the paint, it's going to take a long time to dry, and it'll probably never dry, and you'll feel that stickiness in the paint. So the way to paint, always have your subject like that and start spraying across. Start from far away, offset, come closer, press the button, let it spray, go off, leave it, come back again and do the same. There. And you can see how beautifully that white paint has come out. I can try the same at this angle as well, because why not? So there we are. And that's the white paint done. Next thing I'm going to do is mask off the white paint once it dries in about 5 to 10 minutes. And then I'm going to paint the black paint on the other side. Alright, so here we are, and this is the result of the white and black spray. And as you can see, the masking line has come out nice, and it's actually a nice glossy black out here on the underside of the left wing, and a nice white on the underside of the right wing. So if you enjoyed watching this tutorial, click the thumbs up, do consider subscribing to the channel, and don't forget to leave a comment, because I really love interacting in the comments. Do comment and let me know how you liked my technique of painting white, and if there is any other technique that you would use to get a result as good or better than this. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again in the next video. Bye bye. Take care.